It's Wall Day Wednesday. Welcome back to Wall Tactics. Let's get into the stats and the facts. Like always, going over orc lists and the orcs' performance overall this weekend. That being said, we always like to start with our Goonhammer stats. Faction versus factions, you can see the date right here, 9/14 to 12/5. Again, Astra Militarum coming in as our actual hardest matchup on paper. Death Guard sneaking up, and that win rate's actually dropped for us, surprisingly. And all of a sudden, it just ended up getting worse. We got Leagues of Voltan, that's kind of staggered at 42%. 44 Tyranids consistently. Eldar, again, coming and still being hard. No one's surprised about why Eldar is hard, right? If people are wondering why these are, and you're seeing this again for the most part, Astra Militarum, cheap throwaway units that can infiltrate, that can strong indirect fire, tanks that are durable yet have the volume of fire, that can actually kill orcs with the perfect profiles to kill elite infantry. Usually the lack of their AP can sometimes be a problem for them, but for orcs, you don't really care that much. And they have to usually do fixed secondary, so they can take over their part of the board, hold you back a bit, delay you, regen units that they want to use, keep doing that, keep laying you out. If you challenge them to, I'm going to stand here, and sometimes orc players build like that, Astra Militarum can bring the guns to take you out for doing that. Death Guard, because they can stack -1 weapon skill, -1 to hit, is ridiculous. Rhino rushes are very difficult for orc players as a whole, even at the top tables, because we're not really good at popping other transports. For the most part, we like our transports, but when it comes to going against an army that's bringing their own transports, we don't really like to see that, Adeptus Mechanicus, well, actually, we should keep a number on this, right? Let's keep an eye on this. Leagues of Voltan, everybody knows that they're just very powerful. They have the volume, they have dev looms, they have their own transports that are at a dumb price point to where they have good toughness of 10, yet they only have 9 wounds. They don't give you good points if you choose to do fixed. Tyranids, they have multiple ways of playing. Making orcs take continuous battle shot can actually be quite annoying for us. Triple Norn emissary list with Maliceptor support, super hard for us to actually take down consistently. So Tyranids is not surprising for me. Even the invasion fleet with getting blown, sustained 6s on infantry and being able to choose like that is very powerful. Eldar, we all know all those stuff. I don't got to go over it. Black Templars. Now, if you see, actually, I think this isn't a horrible percentage, I think, for us as orcs. We should not feel bad about that at 48% win rate, because of how many people are actually suffering to the hands of Black Templars. So in reality, I really attribute this win rate that we have is because we have orcs is never beaten, being able to fight in death. When you have all these kind of units that want to run around and kind of swarm you, we have the ability to find death. But it is still very hard matchup for us because they still have a weird durability that can end up taking us out, and enough vehicles, because sometimes they'll play Ironstorm, can get you off guard too. Gladius is good, such. And then this is kind of what surprised me. Adeptus Custodes kind of sneaking in at a 48% win rate. We're still kind of losing to them. They might have fallen off the meta, but they still have a ridiculous amount of durability into melee in fighting in first, and very annoying for orcs. So overall, orcs is still in a good spot, but it's actually important to pay attention to the matchups, because right here, boom, Meta Monday. If we look up to Meta Monday, if you look at I'm gonna go up to the top so you guys can follow along what these things mean. It goes by the players, the wins, game played, X and 1, win games percentage, and 6 weeks win percentage, right? And if you drop down to orcs, where we're at now, what I do like to see is our player count is actually quite good at 454. So good job to the wall. Whoa! But as you can see, percentage wise, our win rate's dropping. And that shouldn't make anybody feel upset or catch anybody off guard. I think we're all kind of aware of what's happening with the power armor, Space Marines getting codexes, having a bunch of different ways to play. People kind of figuring out how orcs do play for the most part. And maybe orc players are just kind of tired of playing samey and bringing a bunch of different stuff too. I know when I had an event this weekend, there was a lot of other orc players there. Surprisingly, I enjoyed that. Shout out to the other players. But some of them were bringing fun stuff. One of the players brought a Sampa. So it might be people are just kind of having fun with what they want to as well, since we've been kind of doing the same thing over and over again. But power armor is actually quite an issue. And what are the answers to that? Right? We all have different assumptions, but we all know they revolve around Nobz. So let's take a look at some of the lists. And go over some of the GT lists and such. But we got a new member. The Fighting Fedora became a member. Whoa, let's go, Fighting Fedora. You've been around a while. Let's go. Yeah, we got a live show. We here, we out here. It's a good one. It's a good day for the wall. For the wall. All right, guys. Yup, Astra Militarum's hard. It's a tough matchup, you guys. You know, and for the most part, everybody's feeling that. And then terrains, especially bigger, the bigger event gets, you're gonna have kind of gun lines some once in a while and kind of bad matchups in terrain. And that happened to me, and it happens. You know, you can still do good, but I'm saying that's why people at the top tend to sometimes end up being shooting armies. So if you guys weren't aware, there's a super major this last weekend. Super majors are awesome. If you can see a ridiculous amount of players, there was 200 players at this event. So let's see, an Orc did end up doing quite well at this event. And actually 2 different Orc players. So number 8 and number 9. So we're gonna take up both of their lists because it's worth it. And I want to start with this list because this is the funny list. This is the list that I appreciated. Whoa, we got the Warbosses and Warboss spam. You guys know I've been a fan of Warbosses and Meganobz, Mega Warbosses since the tier list video, since the post data slate. I brought them up. I brought about their AP, their durability themselves, and it looks like it's coming into fruition now that everybody's getting tired of Space Marines, right? So we'll see that throughout kind of the list as we go through here. And it's not just me, everybody can kind of see it coming. So we have triple Warbosses in Mega Armor, no enhancements. 2 Warbosses, no enhancements. Beast Boss and Squigosaur with no enhancements. Mazrod Scragbag, a Deffkilla Wartrike with Super Cyborg Body. I'm sure he just didn't have the points to the point to play with the Beast Boss and Squigosaur with Adwap. I'm sure he just didn't have the points. We have 3 units of 5-man Meganobz. That's obvious because that's perfect for transportation. And then he just went with 2 5-man units of Nobz. He felt like these were good enough. He used them as minor scalpels, right? Instead of being bigger ones, he just took some smaller ones out. Trim a little ward off or something, right? 2 units of Grats, a Stormboy unit, and a Warbiker unit. But then he also fit in 5 trucks. So something that just stuck out to me right away on this list is he was down to give up fixed secondaries. He was like, you know what? If I lose, you end up, it's a kill more, win more kind of situation for you. Because if you end up doing it to me, I guess you tabled me. Is must the way he must be thinking it. Or he just wasn't assuming people were going to take enough fix for him to care, because he could give up, bring it down, assassinate, and he just chose to not care about that. So being aware of that, he still went for it. Usually I don't tell people to do it, but at top levels you can do it, especially if you decide you just want to go for all killing potential, which is what he did. So let's see what he ended up going into, because sometimes that really does go into play a lot, right? There's a chance that he might not have seen some of the things that I think are going to become problems. But right off the bat, boom, Vanguard, Space Marine, Ultramarines. We've seen someone like John Lennon already did great with this, right? So we have let's see how much different this is, right? We have the Biologists with the Blade Driven Deep, Malleus Calgar, and Uriel Ventris. So people are bringing Ultramarines because they love the characters. Calgar is amazing for his beat stick, fallback, charge, and shoot. The Blade Driven Deep enhancement can give it on so many different people. But so we have Aggressors. That's obvious where the Apothecary Biologist is most likely going to go. Centurion Devastator Squad. These are kind of making their appearance. It's kind of that whole set. They're trying to stack the fact that they have a 2-up armor save mace with stealth and light cover guys, right? So they're over here looking like, well, I have a 2-up save. You're making me -1 to hit. I'm armor of contempt and I'm in cover. So I'm going to take great armor saves. That's really what a lot of these Space Marine players think when you're thinking about why they're bringing some of these different kind of units and gun platforms. Also, these guys are dual performance, right? They'll fight you, they'll shoot you, they'll hold a position. They're quite expensive, but I'm surprised to see them on a Vanguard, kind of, but not really, because they can use their Vanguard redeploy shenanigans and such. We have a Company of Heroes, Eradicator Squad, Inceptor, big break, right? We know they're coming. And of course, they're both with plasmas. That's, I think that's where you can see other Space Marines are teching for power armor as well. And you're going to see that as we go over these lists and probably list in your own local meta. Think about it. Other people you go against at RTTs are going to actually be teching for anti-armor, anti-tank as well, because they can see that that's going to be a problem for them. Then this last Inceptor Squad and another plasma squad, right? So even though bolters on paper might get you the same amount of damage against a lot of different units, when it comes down at the end of the day, people just want the AP. And then you ended off with 3 units of Scouts and a Caladius Assassin. So this is quite a meta list, a little bit of elite kind of list, because there's really nothing to contest at the mid-table reliably. You're really sorry, the Magnus Calgar is obviously going with the Aggressors when I said that earlier. I'm brain fart. But there's not really that much other than these Aggressors that are trying to go up in the table and maybe dropping those Centurions. And when you're going against Orcs like that and you don't bring something that can actually hold the table, I can see you getting kind of running over, and that's what happened here at 91 points. So still quite a meta Space Marine list, but you know, that's when you're so counter the meta and you're expecting to be shot at, and then you run into orcs, you get taken off your feet, and that's what happened here. So let's see what happens with another list that might not have been ready for that, but were they? We have Space Wolves Stormlance, so they're trying for it, right? So it's they're looking to get stuck in for the most part. We got Bjorn the Fell-Handed. He I believe he gives them like a free CP or something like that too, or a free strike. Or maybe I think he charges you for an extra CP. I got to check that up. David will yell at me. Lieutenant with combi weapon, Wolf God Battle Leader on the Thunderwolf, and a Wonder Wolf on Wolf Lord on Thunderwolf again. With Fury of the Storm, we have a Lancer, a Redemptor Dreadnought, another Redemptor Dreadnought, a Scout Squad, a Thunderwolf Cavalry unit, just a small one. Then we have another big one, and then a small one. Vindicator, which is actually quite excellent, to be honest. 2 Whirlwinds, and another assassin. So this guy didn't go overboard, and I'm going to bring a bunch of cavalry units, most likely because he realized I just can't move. And it's just so many points invested into one spot. I do appreciate that he brought Redemptor Dreadnoughts on that list too, and he did mix it up. So this could be a challenging matchup to the orc player depending on the mission and how he really plays. It really does depend. Did this person front load those Redemptor Dreadnoughts to try to soak up the Space Wolf, to try to soak up the orc player, or did he come forward with this Thunder Wolf trying to get a charge off initially? I think that's actually the wrong way to play it. So I'd really like to hear how that game went out, but he did end up putting 99 points in on that. And the reason why I say this is actually important for them as a Space Marine player to put these first towards us is because then we have to put our anti-tank, our hard-hitting stuff towards that. There's a chance that it gets shot on the way in, and then it also takes damage if it doesn't end up winning in the fight in one shot. Then it gets taking trade damage with the Dreadnought sometimes, like say Squid gets stuck in a fight there, then the Wolves come in, right? But if a Space Wolf player gets kind of antsy and they charge at you, you're like, oh, I'm going to fight death, I'm going to countercharge you, I'm going to pick you up, and then you're just stuck in the back with just low armor. So this can go either way. It really comes down to how the player plays, but 99 points, so he obviously figured that out quite easy. Going into third game, we have wait, was that oh no, that was about to say it was the same thing, but this is not the same thing because this is an Iron Storm, right? So look at that. How many times we've already just looked in the Space Marines right away, guys. And luckily he had the list he had, my goodness. Because think about going on the Space Marines and Buddy brought all of this AP, durability, and then Deffkilla Wartrike for distraction. My boy was just all over them, and the trucks, right? So you're just constantly popping trucks, and the dudes are getting out in heavy armor. So let's go back to this list. I just thought it was kind of funny that it's like, dude, he definitely read the meta of there's all Space Marines. So we got Bjorn Fell-Handed again, Lieutenant again, of course, and then but this time he has Master of the Machine aura on there, the Tech Marine with the Targeting Ray aura, and then Adept of the Messiah on the other Tech Marine. So this is just for their lethals, and then their all the other different capabilities that they have for being in the armored Iron Storm Assault Force. Sorry when I'm for naming everything, everybody knows already. Gladiator Reaper, Inceptors, another Redemptor. Okay, so far, this is just almost like a copy and paste of what you expect on most Space Marines lists, but that's why it's important that we go over these guys, because we got to see what people are actually playing into in the meta and why they're playing it. Triple Whirlwind. So Whirlwinds are still back in the game. And we're seeing them in the top, or in a lot of these big events. They're actually bringing a lot of them. And then we got a Cladius Assassin again. Run that boy over. Just saying, if you guys ever play against that and he ends up on the table, just take your truck and tank shock that boy off the table. It's always funny. So with this, he was going for what we all expect is going to be a hard matchup for orcs. Sometimes it depends on what level they're playing at. It comes down to the mission and how many scouts, I think, in my opinion, how many scouts they have. This guy didn't really have enough to bother orcs sometimes, but really this is a difficult matchup for orcs. The fact that Redemptor Dreadnoughts can reduce our damage, and most of us are sitting at a damage 2 on almost everything, even we rely on the dev wounds to end up throwing people away. This kind of this detachment does give us quite a difficult matchup, and that's why when I went to the RTTA, I'm going to bring in gas, because I actually look for the knobs to be able to throttle on using Unbridled Carnage for critical 5 so that they can wound easily on Redemptor Dreadnoughts, even if they're harder to wound. Put more volume into them, but also Gaz himself can go and punch out Dreadnoughts. And as you can see, Brian's third game was this list, and this list is actually the game that he ended up losing to. So it is winnable. When you see this, don't be disheartened. A lot of the top meta lists are going to be the Ironstorm detachment and armies. And for Orks, we are having a problem. And that's why we made a video about it, because even though he brought all of this AP, all of these guys, the mission matters. And when you have all those trucks, but they have even plasma cannons and whirlwinds and all those things are perfect profile. Not to mention the strats that they can get a bunch of sustain. They can get we know that they can just end up compounding these attacks and damages to just destroying even volumes of orcs. And so this is a difficult matchup for him. Oh, wait, I was looking at the wrong guy. Oh my god, I thought that he lost that one. Guys, I was being a dork right here. I was going in. But either way, it is actually a difficult matchup. But no, he did win this one, guys. I was being a butthead. Look, I thought it was, but it actually was the guy beholden. Adam ended up losing his third round. No, he won this one. So I still agree, stand on everything I say, because if you don't bring this much AP, as we've seen here, then you would have got killed. He ended up winning this one. I was like, wait a second, I thought he won this one. No, he did. Look at right here with Brian Step. He did win this third matchup. I was tripping, guys. Sorry, forgive me. It gets a little hexy out here, but I still stand on what I said. It is a difficult matchup, and you have to skew so hard as an orc player to actually take all that out. So he did have with the AP and fighting on death and maybe the trucks and whatever the mission does still does matter as well. I'm still going to stand on that. He did end up winning that third matchup. So let me step out of the mud here and move on to his fourth matchup. This one he did lose. He lost to Steven Box. I think we know who Steven Box is. So, and he's playing Space Marine, Gladius Task Force, Black Templars. Guys, forgive me for the last one. Sorry, I feel silly right now. So we have High Marshal Helbricht. He's ridiculous for his points with durability and fighting capability. Judiciar with Honor Vehement. Librarian and Phobos armor. A Marshal, another ridiculous person for 80 points, and then another ridiculous person for 80 points with the Emperor's Champion. So this is all just cheap fighting tech. And for Orcs, we kind of run the same thing, right? If you think about it with the characters you're trying to bring. So you have the Assault Intercessors, Centurion Devastators, Infiltrators, Land Raider. But look at these guys. These are the Godhammer last cannons. Now, why? The reason I pointed that out is because looking at other Space Marine lists, this guy decided I'm going to bring Godhammer last cannons. He's actually teching into other Space Marines and other armored detachments as well, which is something we should pay attention to. Then he brought these smaller units of they call them smaller units. These units of sword brethrens, right? So 1, 2, 3. He brought 3 of them. And as you can see, their different weapons actually make them better, more reliable to different profiles, because they have a thunder, they have lightning claws, they have power weapons. And then he still comes with the 3 Scout Marines, because the Scout Marines are ridiculous, the Scout Squads, for their point cost. This comes down to generalship, of course. But one thing to keep in mind, guys, is with these Land Raiders and with those named character, you can actually be in this Land Raider, move forward with the Land Raider, get out because it has an assault ramp, advance, and charge. And Orcs don't like that. I always say that on this channel, that Orcs don't like when you can take the initiative away from them. That's why I'm personally looking for maybe some scouting and infiltrating units, as I'm thinking more about how the meta is evolving and shifting. Or I could just do what this guy did and go through all Meganobz, right? I'm just kidding. But that's what I'm thinking is, as things evolve, you might need to bring that kind of stuff, because as people can delay you and play the game as they want, they might be able to initiate fights on you too. And I don't know how this game went, and I don't want to assume too much, but something of having this reliable firepower, being able to get in an Orc's face, shoot them, and fight them with the combined arms, I could see as being a very difficult matchup for him. But still scoring quite well with 79 points. And then last but certainly not least, his 5th game was against Ben Jones, and he had Eldar. So Artark Wayleaper and the Phoenix Gem, Death Jester, and then Fuging. So he's trying to get up with these characters and do silly stuff. Then he has a Starweaver, and the Wave Serpent. So this is interesting because he decided he's going to bring transports. I've heard about this being a thing, a meta, a style of Eldar to play as well with these transports. Because you can drop off, I think, these fire dragons and such, which makes it interesting. So then he has these fire dragons, a night spinner for indirect, slowing your movement. Only one though. That's nice, not going too crazy. Rangers, and I think these guys can actually infiltrate, I think, or something. Shadow Specters, Striking Scorpions, Swooping Hawks, a trope, Warwalkers, Warp Spiders, and what do they even have? The what do they have? This is their weapons. The spinners. Okay. Yeah, so this guy's playing like an MSU transport style of Eldar, and interesting enough, I played into something similar like this recently, and I had the same success. What it is that any version of Orcs units can actually, like, if even a diminished unit, let's say 4 Storm Boys, a War Boss, and 3 Nobz, can destroy most Eldar units. So even on the way in, as we're taking casualties, we can end up destroying these Eldar units. And we have the kind of the speed to roll them down, but it does take high level play. It does depend on the mission as well. And either way, great job to Brian Seep. I don't know, I'm reading your name. I'm sorry, buddy. But 4-1 is amazing, especially with that score. Look at that score: 91, 99, 99, 79, 100. So he almost, I'm just round up just for the sake of it, 300s, 79, and 91. So great job by you. I'm gonna check the chat real quick, but then we'll go into Adam Galder. That's funny. This guy's the one who lost his 3rd round, guys. So sorry I did that. Pretty hilarious that I had a lazy eye or something. So he said we have a nice chat here. Just want to give thanks for Eddie and David for putting so much effort and passion into this channel. It's been quite busy late and recently had my first game of Orcs, and I have just beat the poop out of my opponent who broadcast. Whoa, good job, you get. So we got World Eater, we got Daggers over here fighting World Eaters for the first time tomorrow. Gonna take the Mech Workshop to screen out the turn 1 charge before I crump them. Yeah, another thing, actually, my advice when fighting World Eaters too, right? First of all, always pay attention to your CP, because fighting a death is going to be devastating and really important for you. I swear you're gonna punch yourself in the forehead if your Nobz get charged or something gets popped, and then all of a sudden you're like, I can't fight in death here, because trading out with World Eaters, they hate that. Another thing to pay attention to is I really like to kind of like cut the board almost in like the middle of the table in half, depending on deployment. Sorry, I don't use my hands. Against World Eaters, because you have to take them almost in sections, because they can advance and charge the whole game, and they can have reliable charges in these advances as they do. The fact that they're auto advancing 6 and they're going to get across the table into you makes it so that when you have to use some of your trash, maybe your trucks themselves, maybe grots, maybe Storm Boys themselves, bikers, whatever it may be, you sometimes actually need to set up a lane of, hey, I'm going to let you guys set up and run into these screens. Maybe your Beast Boss and your Beast Snaggle Boys, something like that, and let them fight them, maybe even fight in death if they're good enough for that. And when you cut them in half like that, on the following turn is when you want into them. But you almost need to give them that half line of screens and let them kill you. At least in my opinion, World Eaters, and that's given me the most success against one of the best World Eater players in America. So counter charging with Mech Workshop. That's funny. All right. Oh, Aaron. Whoa, a new member. Let's go. Let's get some boys in the chat. Come on. Whoa. Come on, you guys. I know you guys got those emojis. You got boys. You got squigs. Give me some, whatever you want. But I see them. We got double members today. Double new members today. That's fantastic. I appreciate you gets. That really means a lot. And that means you'll be in the raffle. So let's go into Adam Galder. We can see this guy is the one who lost his 3rd round. So I'm laughing because I messed up earlier. 100, 100, and 99, 89, and then he took an 81 on his loss. So that's actually very impressive, because that means he put up a lot of good points even in his 1 loss. So let's look at his. Oops, I pulled up his opponent's list. Don't look at his list. Close your eyes. I'm just kidding. Let's look at his list. Sorry, guys. Being a little unexcited today. We have Orc Strike Force. If you're crumpy and you know it, crump your clothes. All right, so we got Captain Badrock, Miles Rod, Scragbag, Nob on Smash a Squig, Wappa Skill Chop, but Nob on Smash Good, Brutal, but Cunning, kind of a brutal. Warboss. Oh, I love this guy's list. This is fantastic. So it's very similar to probably your list or a lot of our lists with this top section. That's what I like to run. But triple Warboss is beautiful. So we got 1, 2, 3 trucks. That's kind of like I like to keep the sweet spot, because you usually don't bring it down, but we'll see the rest of his list. We got flash kits, 2 units, 3 units of Gretchen, like that. And then we have 3 units of 5 Nobz. So he went for the triple war bosses, and then 3 5-man units of Nobz. I can totally understand why people are bringing these, because they feel like, hey, if I have to fight smaller units of Space Marine, let's see, Death Guard, CSM, of normal Imperial Space Marines, whatever it may be, I want to be able to throw her small units out throughout the game and not just one big back scalpel to punch out a death ball. I can totally understand that, because they're looking for skirmishes and trades. So that seems to be very effective. I really like to see that. 2 big bricks of Squig Hog boys. Now these become the big killy boys, right? And having one of them with Cunning but Brutal means you're giving the enemy the knowledge of, hey man, either if you don't kill me fully, I'm gonna keep tagging you and going everywhere. It makes them a focus sometimes. And then you have 2 units of Storm Boys. So instead of the bikers, it's fine. You don't need the biker sometimes. So this is an excellent list. I really like how this evened out, this spread out. I could see myself solely running something like this. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if I tried something beautiful like that, because it's a very good looking list. So let's see actually how he did. He stacked in the power clause, but then he kept the tools that we all know and love that we keep. Me personally, I like to use 6 to 12 squigs too. So right away, his first matchup is a true test, because this list is just called Chosen. And we know that Chosen Space Marines are actually one of the difficult lists. So we have Chaos Lord, Chaos Lord, Chaos Lord. So it's almost like a mirror matchup, because we have the triple Warbosses with Nobz. That's awesome. A Dark Commune, a Warp Smith. So we have a Cultist Mob, Legionnaires, Chaos Rhino, Cat. Look how this is almost like a replica mirror against the Orcs. That's freaking awesome. Accursed Cultist, Chosen. You like that, right? Do you like how that looks, boys? I know you guys are getting all excited. Then we got the Forge Fiends with ectoplasma cannons. These guys can just pop off with great damage. This is Orc trucks don't really love to see these. They're really good at popping Orc trucks. Then we have the unit of Obliterators, just a small unit, so you might have to just withstand their firepower if you until you get to them. And then 1 allied units of Rubric Marines. Interesting tech piece. Maybe just Flamers. Maybe he just really liked the Flamers. This is a good unit of Chaos Space Marines. This is actually quite meta. So for him to go into that right away, round 1, and actually score 100 points into that is super satisfying. What a great job. I'd love to know what mission he did. But as you can see, what I think was really important here is the squigs being able to soak up a lot of some of those shots, even some of those charges. Now is being able to run over there and scalpel out, or if they get blown up and end up themselves getting charged, then they can fight on death. All those kind of things could really be devastating to a CSM player. And us being able to run them down, put the pressure on them, withstanding some of their firepower and giving them threat saturation. It looked like that guy didn't have enough for the kind of toughness that that list was bringing in itself. And sometimes, maybe Maj just went off. Plus, don't forget Captain Badrook. Maybe even Captain Badrook picking up some of those units in Overwatch, right? Very important there. So let's great job on that first list. So you can see this list was super effective, because you can see he went into a meta list right off the rip and just put up 100 points like no problem. Then we go up again, Blood Gang, World Eater. So he's going into another Powered Armor Army. Another thing to keep in mind here about this Powered Armor Army is that they have -1 damage in combat, plus they have access to 6 of Feel No Pains. In this list, they have access to 4 of Feel No Pain, it looked like. I mean, a 4 of Invuln, I think. No, I think there needs to be the one with the wings to give up the Invuln. So let's see. We got Angron, Calling the Betrayer, World Eater Demon Prince with Favorite of Corn, and then World Eater Master of Indirect Combat is what I call this guy. The Berserker Glaive, considering that this guy does everything. He fights first, he rerolls pretty much everything into character type units, does devastating wounds, gets D3 additional damage on top of his damage, so you can get up to like 5 damage, or 6, something like that. And he is just really, really annoying for some armies. Oh, and usually his Berserker unit moves when you shoot at him. So he's very important for an Orc player to devastate and how you use Fighting Death against. So we got Jackals, and luckily we have that, because some armies just don't have anything to do about him. I use Flash Katana or Find Death. We got Jackals. That's actually really, really good. What people don't understand is Jackals, when the World Eater combo, is actually really important, because they're good at fighting for their volume. They fight pretty much like Orc boys, and they also have sticky objectives for when they die. Sorry, not when they die, but they have sticky objectives in general, so they can run forward. Then we have a big unit of Corn Berserkers and a small one. I'm assuming Karn's in the small one, and then the Master of Execution is the big one. And then just 1 Rhino. The Rhino really does matter when you put the Master of Execution in there, because then it gives you a beautiful delivery system. World Eater's Chaos Bonds, they have great Feel No Pains. It becomes better, I think, when you pick it for the Army Wild. And then Flesh Hounds, and then a Brigand. I think he would have got more out of bringing either more Brigands, or I'm having a brain fart right now, but the cavalry unit of Corn Dogs. I'm having a brain Corn Dogs. Corn Dogs, yeah, Corn Dogs, whatever. I'm keeping that. So that's very important. And I want to say, and I'm not, man, I really want to say this, but I can't remember if it's the winged one or not. But I'm pretty sure this World Demon Prince gives a 4-up Invuln aura within 6 inches. That's why he has so many of these Jackals on this list, because then he can kind of flower out and daisy chain back to that Demon Prince aura and retain a 4-up info which soaks up screens and stuff. I'm pretty sure that's that one. Maybe it's the Winged Bloom, but I think it's that one. But he did end up putting up 100 points against that. So if you know how to play and you have all those tools, you can end up being world leaders too. We have a good win rate into them. But you've seen a lot of the top tables, people have lost to Orks or tied with them, you know, and such like that. And it's not surprising at all because I have struggles into that really good Orc world leaders player too, depending on their list. Now, this is his third game. This one he did lose. I'm reading it correctly. 81. Okay. Make sure I'm not tripping again like last time. All right. So he has Abaddon the Despoiler. Right now you can see this guy. He pretty much says, haha, I like to shoot. And I don't like to fight. So I don't know why he's proud of that. That's Zogan Grai of him to think. So we got Dark Commune, Abaddon the Despoiler, Cultist, Cursed Cultist, Obliterator, Warp Talons, with the mark of Slaanesh. I think that allows them to get lethal. Pretty sure. Forge Fiend, the mark of Nurgle, so they can't really be shot. And then Nurglings, Seekers, and Blue Scribe. So the Nurglings, if they're played correctly, he would use those, in my opinion, to move block the Squighog boys, especially if you went first. Right away, get up in there, boop, take them in the back. If not, then you set them somewhere where you're assuming the Orcs are going to get in combat and try to debuff their combat potential. And really, these Ectoplasma Forge Fiends are excellent. So they might have just gone off. There's a chance that they can just go off with their abilities with lethal and sustain, and all of a sudden they're just laying down fire into you, and it's great damage profile. Abaddon the Despoiler himself is quite devastating, I think, in most cases. And then the Accursed Cultist mob can go either way. I think that's a great tech piece for like playing the actual mission. All these all these Obliterators, the fact that they can indirect fire you one time at pretty dang freaking good ballistic skills, they might even go off. So I'm just going to right off the bat and say I'm not exactly sure why he lost to this one. I'm assuming it's the mission and maybe even the table. Not really sure. On paper, I wouldn't think this would be as a devastating list into him, but generalship always matters, guys. Generalship always matters. And I do think Warp Talons are pretty nice for 100 points. To have jetpack units. So he did end up losing this one, but 81 points. So it wasn't because he did poorly, wasn't because he's a bad player. It was just, hey, sometimes the mission matters, the terrain, da-da-da. So let's look at his fourth matchup, where he goes into Phil Glover, another Space Wolf, Ironstorm, Spearhead. So how many times have we looked at these Space Wolf lists, guys? How many? Well, we've gone over maybe, 10 lists, not even 10 lists, but we'll end up going over 10 so far. And we already seen 3, maybe 4 Space Wolf lists. So very important that we start learning these data sheets if you're going to go to an event, because they're popping up everywhere and David's smiling somewhere in the creepy spot. So we got Bjorn the Fell-Handed, Lieutenant with combi weapons, Tech Marines with targeted augur web aura, Tech Marine with Adept of the Omnissiah, a Gladiator Reaper. I think that's pretty excellent, right? Because if you're getting lethal shots with this guy too, Gladiator Reaper, Onslaught Gatling Cannon, I think that makes sense for me. I'm surprised there's not more of them. An Inceptor Squad right here, Plasma again, another small unit with Plasma again. 1, 2 triple Redemptor Dreadnoughts, only 1 Scout Marine Squad, triple Whirlwinds, and a Cladius Gravitating Assassin. So I'm pretty sure this is the same, or maybe not. It looks almost the same as another Space Wolf list we just covered, but it's not because the other guy didn't have the Reaper. I'm pretty sure he didn't have the Reaper at least. So yeah, and it's important that we just know exactly how this person's playing, what you need to go into it. I advise using grenades. I advise maybe even tank shotgun if you have to, not if you want to. Not only in the last chase scenario. Focus firing your bomb squigs into one spot when you're going to throw grenades into something, and then put your dev wounds into something, because it's going to take a lot of damage, one, to kind of throw some of these guys down. So yeah, always going to be a tough matchup for us right now, and that's why I'm going into Gaz. But he still did, like we see, put up 99 points into that, because if you're playing the mission and you do kill enough of them, you do killing resources, and you do take over the side of the table and utilize your OC in the time of the wall, you can kind of just outlast them enough to win on the mission. But if you're, not practiced and you're kind of worried and such, and they get lucky maybe with their rolls, it can still be a very devastating, difficult matchup. So then we got the Brain Bugs with the Synaptive Nexus. Now, what's interesting about this one is, for us as Orc players, keep in mind, they reduce AP by 1. So that's what you need to pay attention to. On top of their shenanigans for Battle Shock. So we have Death Leaper, Neuro Tyrant, and the old One Eye with his Feel No Pain. Krump that guy. He's not that scary. We got 3 Gargoyles for their very annoying movement shenanigans, right? They'll move, they'll shoot. Sorry, they'll move, advance, shoot, and then move again. So this is something that you need to pay attention to. That's me move blocking you. And if you're an orc player, this is one of those matchups, at least in my opinion. Oops. Hopefully my mic still works when I did that. This would be one of those matchups where I would disembark the transport sooner than later, put them in the biggest lane where I think the gargoyles are going to try to move block me the most in my Squighog boys. And then when they starts moving and they start trying to set up their shenanigans, I start overwatching them and taking them off the table based off just potential. I did that against Eldar and other kind of matchups that I had to play against. Tau with the Delaby and whatever. That's usually how I end up doing that. That's really what you do with flash kits. You just drop them turn 1, even turn 2, because in reality, people have other stuff they want to shoot at. They got Biovores, Exocrine, double, triple Maliceptor, Neurogons, Neurolictor, Pyrovores, Raveners, Zoanthropes. Now, at first I was like, ooh, triple Maliceptors, because I thought something cool was going to come with it, like a Norn. But oh well, he didn't bring them. What he did bring is a bunch of trash and some shooting. He just tried to out-survive on objectives with this kind of play style and hold people back. It seems like it's okay. It just doesn't seem the most devastating, to be honest. I think it just lacks a little bit. It lacks even more damage than other Tyranid lists. And that's going to leave you with a 99-point score deficit to Orcs if you see that. And then last and not least was David to Ireland. Oh, no, that was his list. Sorry. So, yeah, that means he ended up doing, different score, 88, which is still not still a pretty great score. So, great job, Adam Galder. Going 4-1 with Orcs, getting pretty much 3 100-point scorings, and then still scoring over 80 points with the rest of your games, including your loss, is a great job. So if either of you guys see this, feel free to reach out, hit us up on Discord. I like to do interviews possibly and such, and hear from you gets, and I'm sure everybody in the Discord community would too. Let's move on. I'm gonna check the chats real quick, gets. Keep in mind these guys did great at the Super Worlds lists. And then after this, I'll check chats, but then we'll go into this list. This is the next final list. This guy ended up getting first place. Let me make sure I can still hear you guys. Appreciate the advice. I think I'll try using grunts and bikes to screen after you said mini dump in and make a good video on how to beat them too with similar advice. Yeah, I should start doing more tactic videos. I think I sometimes feel like it's saturated market, but in reality, I don't think people really play it all the same, so maybe my opinion will matter. But you'll do good if you throw grots forward. I promise. They hate that. I promise. World leaders hate that. If you throw grots forward and bikers and such and start just, here, guys, charge my trash. Haha, I'm going to counter charge you. Because what they're waiting to do is throw their trash in front of you. You call your wall, run into their garbage, and then they counter charge you because they're going to do it the whole game. So they're annoying like that. So let me get some grots in the chat because I'm feeling like some of you guys are not up to par with what's happening. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see. Let's look at Richard Ivany. Let's get this energy. Whoa, let's get this one energy up, boys. So you just put them grunts in the chat if you're gonna stay small. So we got no Casino with this orc list. So he has Beast Boss on Squiggle Sword with Adwappa Skill Choppa, Mazrar Scrag Bag, Nob on Smash Squig, Warboss with Super Cyborg Body, Warboss and Mega Armor with Follow Me Lad. So sometimes people vice versa these. But it's just fine like this. In my opinion, the Warboss, sometimes people want to scalpel him out himself. They want to assassinate him or kind of try to kill him because he just brings all the value to your Nobz. And then Follow Me Lad because Meganobz are slow. So that makes sense to me. I don't usually pay for Follow Me Lads on that. So we have a Beast Snagga Boys, 2 trucks, and a battle wagon. So he still kept it to a certain kind of potential of, vehicles, but he paid for that battle wagon you get. I love that. That's our version of Land Raider. Let's go. We got 2 units of Gretchen, the Meganobz between kill saws, our scalpel unit of Nobz, and then only a small unit of Squighog Boys. He didn't combine them to make one brick. That caught me off guard. That really did. To pay for the sergeant, but then not have any big bricks of him was just not something I seen coming. And then the trifecta of 2 Storm Boys and a Warbiker unit. So right here, he has the skeletal archetype outline of the Beast Boss, Mazrog, Nob on Smash Squig, Warboss. But the difference is instead of flash kits, he brought Meganobz and he brought the Beast Boss and Squigosaur instead of more Squighog Boys. So still kind of our orc archetype, but let's see how it goes real quick. try to go a little faster and not mess up this time. So Mass first list. He's going against Strike Force, Adeptus Mechanicus. So I'm not gonna pretend this is I'm actually don't think I'm gonna go too much over this just because they actually have a new codex, so I don't think this is actually too relevant. So I'm actually gonna just let's show you guys that. I just showed through it in case some of you guys know what's going on. But we're gonna go over his second list. The second list he had to go to Eldar Wayleapers. Right away, he going into Eldar. I don't know what this is. Candrus? I should look that up in a second. Solitaire and Yang Karn. So I'm assuming Sangrid dress is some kind of Harley Quinn. And then Yain Karn, the most annoying type of Catan thing there is. Dark Reapers, that's just because he wants to Reaper launchers. They have decent shooting for the most part. A Falcon, Fire Dragons, 2 Night Spinners, Rangers, Striking Scorpions, support weapons, which are still good. Swooping Hawk, Warp Spiders. Something I keep seeing here, guys, is Eldar players are bringing MSU type builds. Either nothing, that's a brick or a monster, or they just bring one monster, right? People are going for double, like an Avatar of Cain and the Incarn and a big brick of Wraith. But it's like, no, now they've just been breaking down smaller and smaller into units and MSU forces. And I think that actually helps us as Orc players for the most part, just to be honest. Because I think we have so much potential and so much stuff. Eldar doesn't have a lot of medium strength volume shots, and they can't use combined arms into us. They can't shoot us and then charge us, because when they do charge us, even if a couple of our gits are still alive, we just crump them. We're just like, there you go, little beaky. So you got 16-point win on there. Then we got a 20. So we 20. We have his third matchup. We have Tyrannid Synaptic again. So we have Death Leaper, Hive Tyrant. This guy's actually on foot. He's great for support, in my opinion. Neural Tyrant, and then a Winged Tyrannid Prime. We have 2 units of Gargoyles for more move blocking shenanigans. Barvors for their fixed secondaries. Exocrine, a Harlspex. I think he's great for his points falls for like a monster kind of throwaway thing. Lictor, Maliceptor. There's the Norn Emissary finally. Another Nero Lictor. Paravors, Ripper. Tyrannid Warriors. I think that's just a point thing if you have the points for them. They're not terrible. It's just, he just needed them to put on there probably for points. And then the Zoanthropes. Zoanthropes are great because they can just use their last cannons, or they can just use their blast weapons to destroy boys for the most part. So that's pretty cool. Now, how devastating is this? I think one Norn Emissary can kind of be worked around. You can kind of pick apart the rest of the Tyrannid list. For the most part, when they're playing Lictors, they're paying attention to other shooting armies, and they're like, oh, you can't shoot me because I'm over here, I'm a Lictor, haha, you have to come get me. And then Orcs like, yeah, for real, oh, and they just crump them and they don't really care. So that doesn't usually work out as a strategy for that. So I think Tyrannids either need to go into like a skew of maybe triple Norns for the most part with Maliceptors to be kind of devastating for Orcs, or put some kind of weird pressure on Vanguard list. I think those are the only 2 type of outlines that really give Orcs a hard time. If you don't bring enough Norns, and you're not going enough into the skew to make it a hard matchup for us. And then we have his 4th matchup. He had Necrons. I'm not going to go over this either because you get the new codex, but we know where Necrons were, and where they're going to be is going to be interesting. So we're going to talk about that. We'll have Christian on for that probably. Then in his 5th game, because these guys played 6 games, in his 5th game, he had make sure. The 5th game, he got a 13-point win, so this ended up being a close game. Yeah, it was a trash one. Okay. And then in his 6th game right here was the tie that he had. Boop, 10-10. So in his 6th game, he went to Tau. So let's see. We have Anva, Commander Shadow Sun, Commander in Battlesuit, and then Long Strike. Breacher Squad, another Breacher Squad, Devilfish. The Breacher Squads, I would say the one good thing about them is the fact that they can reroll wounds on objectives, and then go into these transports for that point. Cost combo is pretty dang effective. Broadside Battlesuits, Crisis Battlesuits, more Crisis Battlesuits, Hammerhead Gunships for that great anti-armor shots, some Stealth Suits so they can kind of infiltrate and play the mission already to try to delay you, and then Tetra so they can get that utility out of their rerolls and such. I would like to see what this mission came down to. I mean, if it was like something like maybe I don't know, purge, where the margin of difference in points based off these guys just running and killing stuff might have made a difference. But not really sure why they tied there. Makes me feel better because I've tied into Tau before too, and I'm just like, oh my god, the perfect mission for you guys because you're dead. Here it happened here. So great job by him at that event for pulling out with Orks. Love to see it. Love to see a little bit of adaptation to one of our archetype lists of the Beast Boss and Squigosaur and Maz, and he just stuck in more stuff in there. So let's see some of these chats real quick to you gets before I go on to the next event. The next event, though, I will say is the Warhound Titan GT, and after this is my flavor of the week list, which some of you guys are gonna like. But this one is for this event, the Warhound GT event. Sorry, let me just explain this before I go over it. 59 players, so these guys were going hard. These guys are ready to go. And then, like I said, Richard Kilton. Shout out to Richard Kilton. I think we've featured him before a little bit earlier in the channel's history. If you see this, shout out, join Discord, say something. Let's see. Let me see some of these. Corn Dogs is a way better name. Yes, it is. Thanks. Whoa! So I'm here to preach the gospel of Zog plus 20 super runs. And you gotta say runts, not grots. Okay. And yes, look, can we get some grot/runts in the chat for Zog? And you know what? I'm here to say that I think I'm gonna go into this, guys. I'm gonna bite. Now 20, I don't think 20. I think if it's 20, then I end up giving units kind of like a trade in points that I'm not really feeling. I'd rather leave 10 more grots in my backfield or run them as a separate unit to go do something else. But 10, staging them, delaying someone else and they're infiltrating or whatever it can be in scouting. Or in reality, I wait for the WAAAGH and utilize that additional movement and really get into someone's way, block off someone's countercharging unit, whatever it may be. I think taking advantage of his moving potential and the OC is what's really going to matter there, right? Just run over and steal enemy outposts or something on the wall. So yeah. Any advice for dealing with DG? I'm like 0-6 against them. Plague Marine Bog, fighting or fight first are brutal. Well, first of all, Discord would definitely help so we can go into this. But what I always advise when dealing with anyone's going to fight you first or fight or trying to counter fight you is, one, what are you doing with your possible Overwatch units so that you can Overwatch them, like the Flash kits, so you can weaken and or diminish them? And two, are you managing your CP so that you can fight in death? That way you can start hoping for good trades there, right? And then also we have to see the rest of your list. But they are one of our hardest matchups. We've seen that when we went over the stats. Here you get, whoa, it's all good. It's all good. And also throwing grenades and tank shot. Yeah, and also right here, Mr. said, tank shocks, bomb squigs. We said that before too. Definitely helps putting mortal wounds into them and then finishing them off. Right? So great questions there for everybody. Great response from the chat. Appreciate you gets. Now let's get into Richard Kilton. So let's see what this got for us this time. So we got Shaka's Flaming Bonehead. So he brought flamers again. This dude can't stop. So we got Captain Badrug, Mazral Scrap Bag, Nobz on Smash Squig with Ed Wapa's Kill Chopper. Now, this is what I want this to explain to me if I talk to him. How is he finding this more useful or the same, or I want to know how, than the Beast Boss on foot, right? Because this is looking almost exactly like my list per point. The difference is I have a Beast Boss right here, and a lot of other players do too. He brought a Painboss. As you can see here, his battle line is only 1 unit of 10 Beast Sniper boys, right? First thing you see is he a Painboss. Is he doing two? Is he really bringing the Painboss because he finds that much utility in healing Mazrog every game? That's interesting. So then we have 2 units of boys, followed by 3 trucks, 2 units of burner boys, flash skits, 2 units of Gretchen, Nobz, 1 unit of Squighog boys, war bikers. Sorry, 2 units of war bikers and 1 unit of storm boys. Some people like to go for the additional storm bikers for the durability, guys. It's just a preference. And I'm not against 1 unit of Squighog boys. I started to just drop to just using 1 again constantly. It's fine. I like not having so much impediment on my movement and easier to deploy them where I want. So that's just me. But I really like this list. The one question I have for it is Burner Boys. Why did you really feel the need for them? Maybe it was what we were just talking about with Overwatch or moving these different units. Or is it because you just had the points left over? And then the other thing I want to know is the Painboss. So that'd be interesting. We can all assume he went for the OC. He wants to regen boys. He wants to feel no pain. They end up getting into someone's weaker objective and holding it for too long. I understand all that. I just want to hear some examples of exactly where these things happen and how often it happens for him to preference that over a Beast Boss doing dev wounds. You know what I'm saying, guys? I'm sure some of you guys can understand. We know where he's coming from, but I got to really feel it from his green skin heart. So his first matchup, he had Dark Angels with the Vanguard Spearhead. So this could be a tough matchup right off the gate for Magia here. So we got Osriel, Judicia, Librarian, and Terminator armor for the Blade-driven D. Oop, we know what's happening here, you gets. We know what's happening here. We got a Blade Guard veteran squad. So for the Judiciar, Centurion, David Sitter squad. Here we see them again, the same unit with their missiles and their hands. They're just looking to come down, lay down firepower, then get up and move somewhere else with stupid durability. And they can actually withstand the firepower if they stand there. Company of Heroes again. We got the Deathwing Knights. That's going with the Librarian. They're going to go and infiltrate to the middle of the table and just say, "Ha, try to kill me." Inceptor, Inceptors, Infiltrators, Scout, Double Scouts, and the Caladius Assassin. What I'm going to say here, guys, and this is always kind of come into play with me whenever I play into one of these units, the mission play matters, but there's always a chance that you can ignore the brick of Terminators, considering it's 500 points of his army and he's going to be in one spot. Now, if you are going to commit to them, understand how durable they are and all the potential they have. But it really does come down to the mission if you have to interact with them. But this is the kind of mission that gives people's nightmares. And if you do choose to ignore the Terminators, you must quickly disintegrate the rest of his scoring units. And when you do get into contact with these Blade Guard veterans, understand that they're going to fight you first with the Judiciar. Just fight in death with your Nobz. Just be like, sure, Nobz, get in there. Or just be prepared to use your flash kits possibly to try to shoot them off if you want. But they have pretty great armor save, so it's probably not going to work. So this is a very difficult list. An army, I'd really, Richard is just an amazing player. So him still putting up 92 points against it comes down to the mission, what really happened, who do you choose to what to commit where. I'd love to know. I'd love to hear. And but let's move on to the next list. And if you know Richard, have him give a shout out and join the Discord so I can Krump that get. We got Invasion Fleet number 2 with the Invasion Fleet of Tyranids. So again, Tyranids making their way around. We got the Hive Tyrant, Old One Eye, Krump that get. 1, 2, 3 units of gargoyles. Why? Because they're just movement shenanigans to delay and bother people, like I was talking about earlier. The reason why I kind of want Zagra and or Commandos is because you got to get these guys kind of a little bit away and off you, or be able to kind of interact with them. And flash kits, of course, if you get them off the table right away and out of the truck right away, interact with them too, right? You got to be able to kind of move already and be around there. And then we got Biovores per their scoring. 2 units Carnifexes, that's cool. So he just gave that. He because this volume right here, these Death Spitter maggots, actually is kind of tough for the Orcs. That's actually a good profile and volume to hurt us, kind of. At the same time, Old One Eye gives them, I believe, +1 a hit. Then we have 2 units of Exocrines, 2 Manaceptors, Neurolictors, Pyrovores, Ripper Swarms, Zoanthropes. Now, I'm just going to say right here, like we talked about earlier, yes, this is a meta, pretty solid Tyranid list. The difference is when you're trying to play these games where I'm going to stick these Neurolictors on objectives, Orcs are like, you just gave me a lily pad, bro. I'm going to go Krump that get. And the Maliceptor is not going to take it. You know what I'm saying? Whoa! Now, the Feel No Pain comes into play when you're playing against Invasion Fleet. I'm not saying Maliceptors just fall over, but there's a chance they just fall over, So Richard just ran him down with 99 points on that list. So great to see that. Now we go into his one loss. I'll say his one loss is actually going to be to this guy right here, which is a Grey Knight player, and he got 89 points. I wanted to point that out right here. This guy almost ran a perfect event too. 99, 100, 89, 100, 100. So let's take a look at that matchup. I'm going to say right now, when you're playing Grey Knights, you're actually playing the movement game more than anything. Now, right here, you can see his list says, nothing to see here, just 30 Termi. So we know, womp, 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 what that means for Orcs. We hate to see that great armor save. So we got Librarian, Castle and Crow, and Cal Drago. So the name character allows you to come in and pretty much make an automatic deep strike. I think it's like +3 to your deep strike or something like that. So we got Brotherhood Terminator Squad. Mind you guys, when you get into a fight with these Terminator squads, they can actually pull themselves out of combat with you. That's actually their capabilities and such like that. So they'll come down, they'll charge you, delay you from getting on the objectives, pull themselves up, fall back onto the objective, and then the next turn they score the primary and you don't. That's how these Terminator squads also go and delay into you, right? So just keep that in mind, that they're coming down, they're shooting you with all their great firepower. So as I show you this list, keep that in your mind as well, or they're running at you. So we got Strike Marines because they could fly. He has a Grey Knights Land Raider Redeemer, and then he also has a Grey Knight Stormraven gunship. So he's actually delivering them with the deep striking capability, with the Grey Knight Land Raider Redemptor capability, and then the Stormraven gunship capability of actually being a transport. So that's amazing. Then he has Inceptors. Here's the Paladin Brick, and then here's a Purifier Squad for this firepower. Amazing into infantry. So, and then a Cladius Assassin. So, this guy didn't go nothing this here, just 30 Terminators because it wasn't all Terminators, but we know that he still brought great durability because everything still has a 2-up armor save. What it really comes into play here is they still do have that potential to move around. The Stormraven gunship would catch everybody off guard because it has the capability to drop people into your backfield. Great durability in itself. It can, I believe, it starts in hover mode when it gets on the table there too. So very interesting though, and it sure to caught everybody off guard that he was able to score like 400 points on this list. Now, would I understand exactly how he did it? Nope, but it's quite amazing that he did it, and it's not, and it had to be if he took and even took down all these other players and took down Richard Kilton with that list. So amazing. That's also why I'd like to hear, if you shout out to Rich Kilton if you're out there, let us know what happened with that. I'd love to hear that. Now going into his fourth matchup, he went into Dead But Rising, the Chaos Demons. We have Be'lakor, Bloodthirster, Great Unclean One, Shalexia's Hellbane, Slilax, and the Blue Scribe. 1, 2, 3 Nurglings, Plague Bearers, Flamers, Seekers. This guy is just like, I'm going to shove everything into the middle of the table, stat check you, maybe do fixed missions, blah, blah, blah. The difference is Orcs actually do really have the potential to just murder a lot of these things. Be'lakor becomes not into play unless he rolls hot into combat. The Great and Clean One, he is very durable, but he doesn't collapse, so you can quite delay him with trucks and stuff like that. But then everybody else, you can actually take them out with typical Orc models. If the the Demons player isn't wise enough to use Nurglings to move block you and delay you, and he just tries to just place them in certain spots and use their auras, I think that's at a deficit to them. And that ends up being how you would win against them. And then last but not least, I don't know what happened here, but this is only 39. Maybe that was just a typo or something points that he won, but we'll take a look at the list. It was Eldar, Death Jester, Farseer, Skyrunner, Yavrin. So this is what are they? Eldar, but they're called gosh, I'm having a brain fart of what Yavrin is a part of. She's a part of that other. Sorry, just forget it. I'm out. Whatever. Night Spinner. I can't think of it. Chat, tell me. Let me what that. I forgot what that means. Yanari. Okay, yeah, that's what it was. Sorry, Yanari. Night Spinner. Swooping Hawks. Warwalkers. One thing to keep in mind as an Orc player, the reason why you see Warwalkers are so amazing. These guys have lances, but they're also like built-in -1 to wound at like T9, I believe. We just don't care because we get anti-vehicle stuff, right? Warp Spiders, and the Cabalite Warriors, Reavers, Scourges, Venom. So odd list. I don't really know what happened here with the score. What odd, but hey, great job, Richard Kilton. Shout out, to you again. If you show up, let us know what happened with that odd Grey Knight list, because I know exactly what Grey Knights are trying to do with their typical Terminator list. But with the Stormraven gunship, I don't really understand how he put up so many points consistently throughout the whole tournament. So that's pretty interesting. Now, last but certainly not least is my flavor of the week list. You guys are going to like it. Just going to spoil it right now. No, actually, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to look at chat real quick. But trust me, you're going to like the flavor of the week list because no one's running this yet gets. Let me just take a look at chat, of course, real quick. Let you guys know what's going on. All grots are super grots. No Zod, no boys allowed in the revolution. That is objectively incorrect, you little git. Krump them. But we can get some more boys and grots in the chat. Whoa! Let's see, we got some more wall. Whoa! Oh, intrigue us, he says. Okay, I'll intrigue you because I heard you guys were talking and going, hey, War Tactics, I want to know, can I run the Green Tide? Because that's what's going on here. My boy decided he's going to run the Green Tide. So we got Boss Nickrod, Zalrog, Wartsnaga, Big Mac with custom force field, Big Mac with custom force field, Big Mac with custom force field, Warboss, and then boys. Gretchen, Mandos, Storm Boys, Mac Guns. Boom. You wanted your answer, and I felt like this was a perfect way to articulate my answer to you was to find a list and let you know. I personally think that an orc list will go just about this. That is that kind of list. It's going to go about 3-2. In this case, it went 3-0-2, which is still great when you went tied. And this is the WTC scoring. We know what that is like. These guys do play on like shooty terrain as well, so keep that in mind as American players, which is why he did, but why I also advise, if you're going to run the Green Tide, Big Mech with KFF is probably one of the best picks. And I know it's not the most interesting, but he is very cheap, and his capability goes off multiple times in the game, giving a 4-up invul in that range, doing it twice. And then, of course, you have your WAAAGH, so then you get it built in on that other turn. So as you're moving up into for the table, you are getting that durability. Plus, you have the Warbosses on your unit to give the fighting potential too. Then he got his Super Grot unit right here with the big units of grunts, super grunts, and then commandos. That way you have stuff to early get up the table, start playing the mission right away, start setting up, start move blocking stuff that can kill you. But remember, guys, like I always say, a skew is a skew, and the skew will always have its hard matchups in its games that are just going to be almost nearly impossible to win. So what do you guys think? Is this a good flavor of the week? What's up? What's up? Let me get some boys in chat. Let me see some walls. Whoa! Yeah, I found this list, you guys, because who else would have showed you a list that's 3-0-2? Huh? Yeah, you guys didn't even know. And what you guys didn't know is this is not a proper GT, right? So I'm looking at it, you see it's 5 games. It's not a proper GT because they ran out of the players because they didn't get enough players to be a GT. They didn't sell enough tickets. So they're prepared to be a minor GT. They just didn't enough players. That means all these guys came prepared for it. But that's also why you guys didn't see it in Meta Monday and why you guys wouldn't have seen this. So even though he placed and he did great job to Niall Perry, I sniffed it out and I found it with the power of Zork and Gork and Mork. The power of the wall energy led me to this list so I can answer the question for you boys on can I run a Green Tide? And this is how you'd run the Green Tide. This is one of the ways, right? I also think using weird boys is obviously going to be good too. And I like to not with Wallwander Burner personally, but hey, that's me. So let's look at his matchup. So his first game, again, what just happened? This Space Wolves just flew out of nowhere and landed over here again. So if you look at our other videos, I kept using, Space Wolves as kind of like a baseline example for some of these detachments. And I was like, I wonder if people think I'm just favoring them. But in reality, they really are some of the best options. Point being proven here today on this stream. So we have Battle of the Bay. So we have Bjorn Fell-Handed, Blade Guard Ancient, Chaplain on Bike, Herald Deathwolf, Judiciary, Lieutenant, Ragnar Blackmane, Wolfguard, Battle Leader on Thunderwolf, Assault Intercessor, Blade Guard, Eradicator, Hounds of Mordecai, Tactical Warsuit, Outriders, 2 double Outriders, and then a cavalry unit. So just say off the bat, obviously not meta. It's okay, but he put 20 points on it for not being meta. But you see in there, he had stuff that was definitely going to be getting wounded on 5s or 6s for the WAAAGH, for those boys, and didn't matter. The boys just ran through it either just directly with over OC, lasting them. Remember, you're going to get the 4-up invul on top of the capability to pop Artist Nails, guys. Super bothered, and you can get light cover, so you become outrageous. You'll be surprised how much you actually survive there. So let's go into his first draw. He went into the 1,000 Suns. So he had Aruman, Magnus. So think about it. He had Magnus running around that table, and he was just throwing boys, get stuck in my heads, and the super grats. So Exalted, Sorcerer on Disc, Infernal Masker, 1,000 Sorcerers of Terminator Armor. We got Rubric Marines, a big unit. Another Rubric Marine Squad, Terminator Occultist, Zangor and Lion, 1,000 Suns Rhino, 1,000 Suns Rhino, and Blue Scribe. So for the most part, 1,000 Sun players feel like they're still in a good spot, that they're just kind of samey. I can see that Magnus could be an issue because he gets to kind of run freely throughout the whole game and just kind of bully wherever he wants to. So shout out. Great job for still putting up good points into a list that might be kind of hard for trying to stat check you back. Let's look into his third matchup. He did win this one, and it was against the Leagues of Fulton. So guess what? Having a 4-up invul access to Artist Nails might actually become kind of annoying for you, huh? And having that many units that are ignoring Overwatch might become interesting. Commandos getting -1 to hit, and then being able to pop a 5-up invul might mean they committed more firepower, and all that infiltrating means they could have just kept the space dwarves in the deployment zone. So what's going on here? And I always say, man, if you can keep them back, stop them coming in from the edges, stop their Terminator bricks, that's really how you beat them. It's just how are you delivering that as an orc player? But that's what you want to do against them. Brokeneer, Iron Master, Kal. You like that? I know you guys like that. Hearthkin Warriors, Sagitar. So kind of light on the Sagitar. You know, if I was a stinking shorty dwarf, I'd bring like 4 of those. We got Brokir and Thunderkin. Thunderkin. You got 2 units of them and then a big unit of them. Great shooting profile, just low volume. We got the Hearthguard, so their first Terminator brick and then their second Terminator brick. I like to see it, and I think they're pretty devastating. I mean, they're gonna have a stupid amount of frag cannon, volume, fire, and such. So you're gonna be just really be hoping for the fact that your 4-up invul rides the day right here. To be honest, guys. Then we have the Hecaton Land Fortress, another Hecaton Land Fortress. That's where their commandos will come into play, being able to be like, hold all those Terminators back, hold these land fortresses back, because if these guys do go up and park up in the middle, it's going to be a problem. And then the Pioneers, same thing. Can't let them start coming in from the edges and scoring constantly. But he did win that by 1 point, which is probably that thing where maybe he even went first, kept them back, got eroded, but slowly pulled that out with just enough of a margin of a win. Great job, him. And then we got a 4th game. Mind you, he's still undefeated here. And he went into a counter. Whoa! Let's see. He went into a Gaz and Maz list. No, that's weird. Ooh, let's see the rest of this list. We have 1 unit of Beast Naga, 3 units of Beast Naga boys, 2 trucks, a battle wagon, Deffkilla, a small unit of flash kits, a Gretchen unit, a Grot tank, Meganobz for Gaz, a mech gun with the Bubba Chucka, 2 3-man unit, 3-man units of Squighog boys. So a little bit of a twist on the meta list. Yeah, the question mark why I question your why as well, my friend. I don't know exactly. I mean, not that you're not a good orc player, and I love that you brought Gas. It's just I question what the rest of your list was trying to do here without support and transport capability. You didn't really have an archetype there. And then we got a 13-point win on them. And then last but certainly not least, we have his final matchup, which was Eldar. So he even beat Eldar with that list. Again, we come down to Eldar don't have volume fire into odd durability, medium toughness units, which is exactly what they were going into here with Orcs being able to be durable, run up in their face, take up the table, and deal with them. So we have Artark, Wayleaper, Avatar of Cain, Farseer, Solitary Incarnate. So this is very meta, just so you can see, just based off their character. Then he also has the Night Spinner, Shadow Spectre, Swooping Hawk, Warwalkers, all those Warwalkers, because these guys themselves are scouting and moving quickly. Warp Spiders, and then War Spiders again. This is important that you can ignore them on this whole faction on Overwatch with all those commandos. So he did pull that off with the tie, but still, great job there, being able to play into a very meta list with what some people would consider a meme list or kind of silly list if you showed that on someone's Discord or something. But if not, if you want to see again, hey guys, you see Boss Zikrat, so he can pull the whole unit off the table and bring it back down. Zagrat, so he can give his super runs and get him up the table even faster. So he has this continuous OC throwing him up the table. And then he brought units of boys just with all 4-up invul, just hoping they can get there fast enough. And the Warbosses just to throw them over the edge for command killing capability. And then mech guns. He probably just used the mech guns to hold his backfield and to lay down firepower as he could. Hopefully pop transports as he could. That's pretty much the only way you could ever see that going. So great job, everybody, this weekend with the WAAAGH, right? So I hope you guys appreciated those lists. Let me know what you think, because I had a great job great fun looking at these lists. Now, that's all for those lists. I'm gonna quickly, if you guys want, I'll go over my RTT experience because I use Gas. So I can give some opinions about Gas and why I use them. So, but that's it for right now for this weekend's WAAAGH Wednesday. Now it's time for my report for you gits. Now, I ended up using Gas. I decided I'm just gonna go ahead and use them. No practice games. Let's see what's up. Ended up going undefeated, 290 points out of 300 points. Good overall. Ended up going into Tau, Nurgle Demons, with their multiple soul grinders and great and clean ones, and then Eldar as the last matchup. So how I felt about Gaz is people estimate how hard it is to get him into combat, considering how GW late tables are set up now, and the fact that Gaz is infantry. I also think people sleep on the fact that you can pop Unbridled Carnage to kind of duplicate the lethal into being on 5s as well as sustain 5s on lethal. They're able to pull down a soul grinder with a war boss and 5 knobs due to that. And I think people on paper go, you can kill Gas very easily, and all this stuff. In reality, people just don't have the resources or time to try to pop angles into this fat infantry dude unless he's very, very counter to their list. So sadly, I didn't get into like an Ironstorm list, which was I looking to get into. So I'm still gonna be trying to get into more games into them on an RTT level, not just fun practice games. But that's really what I was thinking about bringing Gas. But as I went through the events, and I was like, well, Gas does help my damage output, and having damage dev wounds on the wall from the Meganobz and punching people out is pretty freaking amazing. And being able to have a 2-up invul and hold objectives in the middle is pretty amazing. But what I really thought about, and as I looked at the people who I got 3rd place in the event, by the way, out of 24 people. But what I looked at when I looked at the people that were above me and the people that were right below me was there were very good Space Marine players with infiltrating and scouting units that were looking to pretty much delay you and then score their fixed secondaries, kill you as much as they could to delay you enough to when you did make contact, breaking through all their screens, that they could still play the mission into you, still retain their objectives and their secondary scoring. And even if you did kill them or just meet them and wall into them and hurt them a lot, that they still scored plenty enough to still win the game. So I think really what it comes down to is what that last list was hinting to us is taking over the table earlier. Now, is that with the Deffkilla Wartrike? Is that with Commandos? Is that with Zagrod? That's something that we're going to have to kind of come to as a community. But I really do think with all of these meta factions now utilizing infiltration, now utilizing movement shenanigans, sometimes building it to fix secondaries, Orc players themselves should think about how can I cover the mid-table even quicker so I can stop these fixed units that are actually our counters, these fixed armies, sorry, our counters, from scoring on us right away. Also from pushing us back and delaying us in our backfield and winning like that. So like Tyrannid's Vanguard detachment does that to us too. Guard want to do that to hold us back and score in the middle of the table too. So that's actually plays into what is already beating us and something that I think is what we should start looking to as a community as a whole. And that's what I'm thinking too as well. So my lists are kind of starting to reflect that. I don't know if I'm going to put a Trike on my list. I don't know if it's Mandos yet or Zog, but that's what's going through my mind. And Gaz does not suck as much as you guys think. You guys just need to give it a chance and really think about your movement stages. 2-man Meganobz and Mandos. Easy clap. All right, with that little weird face. You guys know I like my 2-man units of Mandos, right? So that being said, you gets thank you to all the new members and all the members that are in there. Remember, we're going to be doing that raffle here soon. I'm excited. And I appreciate you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe the video for you guys that are here because it really helps us and helps us grow. And we're going to be going over what are the possible data slate changes that are coming up to the Orcs. Who's going to get nerfed? Who's going to come up? Who's going to go down? What needs to be getting played? What needs to be getting thought of? What's coming up next in the meta, right? Because that's what we're here to do. We're here to rise the green tide and, you know, as a community come together and kind of find out what is the way of the wall right now, what helps, especially with these Space Marine power armors get sticking around everywhere, right? There's a raffle, yes, and you're actually in the raffle because you're a member, Mr. 2. Because what it is we're going to be giving away one of those Christmas boxes to first place, and then the second place raffle is going to get a Beast Boss on Squigglesaur/Maz model kit. So they'll get a kit so you guys can run multiple Beast Bosses and Maz if that's what you guys want to do. But that's what we're doing. So we'll do that near Christmas time. You know, we're doing the raffle, probably do a stream for it as well. Yeah, for all the members or the Patreon members too. Whoa, yeah, we got 1.1k subs. That's thanks to you guys for liking it and sharing. So I appreciate you gets. You know, it really means a lot, and I'm getting out to get more games in so I can get more feedback in and prove my theories to be true. You know, the Nobz became true, Meganobz are coming true, Gads, all that stuff is true. So, you know, our wall hasn't been too far off what we've been thinking the way of our wall. So, you know, we've been doing great, and I appreciate all you guys have been giving me love back. So let's keep it up. And remember, you know, Friday we got our talk. So whoa, in the Discord, let me know what you guys think about what's coming up. And keep in touch because it's going to be a great time. It's a great time for the wall, even though our win rate's going down. Don't worry about it because our codex is right around the corner. So let's keep having fun and look towards the sun. Now, one thing to keep in mind is don't cross the wall because we knock your teeth out. Whoa!